So Ryan, what does a CFO do for a small business?
A CFO analyzes the strengths and weaknesses of a business from the financial side of things, and then they take corrective actions around the weaknesses to the business owner.
What are some of the key numbers small business owners should be tracking?
So I've got 4 here that drive cash flow. 1 is change in accounts receivable. 2 is your change in asset. 3 is your change in debt. And then 4 would be owner's draw or equity.
What are some of the challenges that you help small business owners overcome?
So probably one of the biggest challenges I help a business owner overcome is I build them a financial scoreboard. You can't know if you're winning the game of business or not if you don't have a scoreboard.
Oh, wow. That was good. Check out Ryan Kimler. He's the founder of Net Profit CFO. For more information, just go to your website. Ryan, what's your website?
netprofitcfo.com.
Well, that makes sense. netprofitcfo.com. Check it out.
Excuse me, can I borrow your towel? My car just hit a water buffalo. Running a business is hard. Being a business leader is even harder. The Nice Guys bring in top industry pros to help your business prosper in a tough world. Get real advice from real people to get you real results today. Now it's time for the Nice Guys on Business. Here's your hosts, Doug Sandler and Strickland Bonner.
Nice Guy community. Today, it's all about hustle and grind. The theme of today's episode, as you know, as a business owner, you work pretty hard to close some sales, fill in your cup so that your business can actually grow. Well, today's guest, Zac Stucki, he's here to share the wisdom of 40% year-over-year growth sales and growth rates. And if you're not into that, if sales is not your gig or closing more deals or bringing in more business is not your thing, just go ahead and go on to the next episode, because I know we're going to have somebody that will be for you. But I would encourage you, maybe listen in, because business can always get a little bit better. And Zac and I are going to talk about that. Here to help us transfer all of our hustle and grind into progress and profit. Welcome, Zac, to the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Hey, thanks, Doug. I'm super excited to be here. I think this is going to be a blast.
I think it'll be a great episode, and I want to start just by sharing the reality of our show with our community and those that know the behind the scenes edge of what we do and how we do it. Zac is one of those guys that got through the radar of our I don't know, what do you call it, like the gatekeeper system, Zac? Is that what it would be?
Screeners?
Yeah, or maybe, but I'm the screener, but everything is automated in our system. So 99% of our guests that sit in that guest seat are all outbound inquiries, me looking for a guest and finding somebody that I think would make a good fit for the audience and for you guys in the community. And then Zac put through an email to me that basically shared with me that he knows the show. He knows the lingo of the show. He reviewed the show, and he got through that whatever we call that system or that process that we have, which is about 1% or less of the people that are on the show. So I want to tell you that if you don't think that 40% year over year growth rates are a good thing, listen to a guy that's actually going to talk to you about the reality of how he's been able to do that stuff, where his magic comes from, why his gifts might be important to you as a listener. And then we're going to share with you, as we get a little bit deeper into the episode before we finish up, something that Zac is giving to you as a free gift just for listening to today's episode. So Zac, man, appreciate you being here. Thanks for your wisdom. Without even getting started, I know that you have the wisdom. So where did it all begin with you? How did you know that you were, where did it go right? When did you know you had your hands on a good thing?
So, it's really weird because, and not to get into my life story here, but when I was a kid, my mom taught me to really look and find patterns in just everything. And so we flash forward to my first year of marriage, and I'm sitting at this business and I'm looking around at things and I'm saying, they should be doing this and they should be doing that. And if they did that, it would have this impact. And my wife looks at me and she goes, "You should be doing this full time." And so just ever since then, my whole career has been in helping small businesses less than $1 million scale and grow. The businesses that I've worked with, just one of them off the top of my head went from 4 million to 40 million while I was working with them.
Wow.
And being able to get into the meat and potatoes about what they were doing and what they needed to change it just got me so energized, Doug. Like, it got me so excited to be able to see that change and realize that this wasn't just a change for the business owner. This wasn't just a change for the employees. This was a change for the patients and for the customers and for the clients as well. And it really is this holistic change. And so, I'm an ardent advocate for capitalism and for the business owner, because it really is the business owner. It's your listeners that are out there making a difference every single day in the lives of people all over.
One of the things that Strick and I, as owners of a podcast production company, one of the things that we have talked about a number of times is staying within that zone of genius, staying within the things that we know that are the gifts for myself. My community's probably heard me say this a million times, but if you see my face in a spreadsheet, I'm in the wrong place. If you see Strick's face in a sales or a customer service environment, he is in the wrong place. And so we discovered in 2019 that we were only going to do the things that came easily as gifts to us, not came easy to us, but were the gifts that we have that we feel come easy to us. And so is that part of the formula for a winning success pattern, or am I missing something even more elementary than that?
So it absolutely is part of the formula of a winning success pattern. That's why I'm a huge advocate for consultants and getting people to fill in the gaps where you need them to. But the other part of a winning success pattern is really making sure that you're dedicating your time and energy and money, because if you look at it, we've got limited resources in everything that we do. And if you break it out to its lowest common denominators, it's time, it's money, and it's emotive energy. And you want to be sure that you're dedicating those three resources to where they're going to have the most impact towards getting you to where you want to go, to your vision. And if you're not doing that, then you're not operating in your zone of genius and you're not getting where you want to go.
So let's go back and talk about that for a second. As a solo business person, as those that are in our community that are just bootstrapping their own company, they don't have any workers, they're doing their own thing. I know that oftentimes the challenge is, well, how do I get out from underneath all of these weeds, to finally get to work on the business rather than in the business? And it did take us probably 2 years, maybe even closer to 3 years to figure that out, that, hey, we can't be doing all this. We're working 60, 70, 80 hours a week doing this. And we really did want to gravitate towards, how do I work 12 to 15 hours a week and build this business, and then be able to remove ourselves from our business and not have the business be adversely affected. So how do you talk to the early stage entrepreneur that's bootstrapping their own business and all out of their own pocket and saying, hey, this is the stuff that you really need to focus on first, getting yourself out of that position and into the management of that?
Oh man, that's a great question. And the first step is really realizing that you need to do that. I think a lot of times people say, oh yeah, I got it. Work in, but not on your business. But I can't do that. No, you absolutely can do it. And that does absolutely apply to you. And anytime you say that it doesn't, you're automatically limiting yourself.
Right.
I can tell that you've read The Big Leap.
Oh my gosh.
All about limiting beliefs in there.
Yeah.
This is one of these limiting beliefs. You absolutely can do it. And you have to recognize that as you grow your company, your value doesn't necessarily come from being in the weeds anymore. And so it's like thinking about, how do I define the value that I'm delivering as the owner or CEO or founder of this company? Like, how am I changing what my value really is? And so, yeah, starting early on, you have a lot of options. Actually, you can automate a lot of stuff. There are literally whole companies that are built around helping you automate marketing, copywriting. Like, artificial intelligence is amazing. You've got virtual assistants that can help you book stuff and do a whole lot of other things. You've got, the gig economy that you can leverage in your favor as well. You can do bargaining and do bartering with different organizations. And that's something that you can do at an early stage, but once you cross the $500,000 mark, I recommend never doing a barter again, because it will actually negatively impact your brand.
No, totally Totally get it. It's funny you mentioned Gay Hendricks and the Big Leap. If I walked out of my front door right now and briskly walked, I could be at his house in less than 5 minutes from my house.
Oh, shut
So
up, man.
yeah, we've
That's
actually
awesome.
had a chance to break bread with Gay and Katie a couple of times, his wife, up in Ojai, California, which is the town that I live in. So I didn't know you were a fan
I'm a
of the
huge
Big
fan.
Leap as well. Yeah, great book and
Yeah.
great teachings. You know, it's funny, his whole backstory is he'd rather be a fiction writer than actually
Yeah.
a writer of business books, but and psychology books. But I agree with you completely. I think we got to get ourselves out of the position of working in our business. As soon as you recognize that you're in your business too often, the idea of moving forward and working on your business and hiring somebody, using software as a service, doing an automated scheduling program, hiring a VA, even a remote VA overseas,
Yeah.
any of that stuff, getting somebody that's, web design that could help you through AI and some other things, marketing stuff. There's a ton of stuff that's out there. And I just don't know where to start with people. If somebody were to come to me and say, "What's the first thing that you do?" I say, "Just write down a list of everything that you do right now on a daily basis, and how do we
Okay.
get you out of that stuff?"
So this is actually something that I do with my clients on a regular basis. Okay. And this is something people are paying me like four figures to help them do. I call it the who does what exercise. And so it's all based off of, if you could imagine in your mind a quadrant, right? A matrix that's got four quadrants, and it's separated out. At the top, you've got work that needs to be done. And at the bottom, you've got work that doesn't need to be done. And then at the left, you've got work that only you can do. And on the right, you've got work that anyone can do. Okay. So quadrant one is going to be at the intersection of work that needs to be done and work that only you can do. That's the work that you need to be spending at least 80% of your time doing. Okay. We call that the 80-20 rule. And that's where 80% of your results come from 20% of your work. But if you could flip that so that you're spending 80% of your time on the 20% of the work that generates 80% of the results, imagine how that's going to just blow up the results you're getting.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that I am still, to a degree, while I spend the majority of my time in that zone of genius, that I really want to spend my time in building relationships, selling, having fun, all of the things, customer service, the stuff that I love. I still find that I'm at probably more closer to a 50-50 than an 80-20. I'd rather spend, I want to get to the point, and it's not because I think I have this other problem. It's called, something like over managing or micromanaging or whatever it is. And my problem is that if I don't do it, it's not going to get done right. And that's such a bad attitude to have. But it is my attitude sometimes. I'm just being completely open and sharing that with you because that's just where I'm coming from. How do I get rid of that, though?
The way that you get rid of that is you ask yourself, what is my vision worth? So you have to realize that the people who really made a difference in the world didn't do it on their own. So I have on my wall, I call it the board of directors. And it's 9 people that I deeply admire for one reason or another. And one of those people is Ulysses S. Grant.
Nice.
And I put their pictures up because I want to remember certain aspects of their life and incorporate that quality into my life. When Ulysses S. Grant retired from office, when he finished his service as president, he gave a speech and he said, "I want you all to know," and this is paraphrasing, he says, "I want you all to know that I wasn't successful by myself. Honestly, like, I consider myself the least capable person who was on my staff when I was the lieutenant general of the armed forces, the commander in chief. And, these people like Sheridan and Sherman, they are the people who really made this possible, who really made ending the war possible. And I owe it to them. And so to me, that's real leadership. He had the vision of, okay, the vision is we end the war. That's the big vision. We end the war with the least amount of bloodshed possible. And we end the war and we free the slaves.
But isn't it, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I just want to interject here. It's not, in my opinion, and again, I completely could be off base here, but it's not just putting people in position, it's putting the right people on the bus. Because the part of the problem is sometimes you put the wrong people on the wrong, you put the wrong people on the bus. You could have the right people, put them on the wrong bus and still get the same results. You could have the wrong people, put them on the wrong bus and again, still have bad results.
Right.
But it's not luck. You just have to figure out what that formula is for putting those right people in there. And sometimes it's a challenging thing to do as well.
It absolutely is. But there's this consistent testing, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, one of the things that I think we do is we say, oh, well, it's their problem. Well, did you give them the full potential, full opportunity to do their very best? Did you give them the resources that they needed? Did you give them the latitude that they needed to be successful? Mm-hmm. See, there's this thing where as you grow, especially when you're in this startup phase, you need people who are going to be self-motivated, self-starters, who are going to see problems and bring them to you. And you have to, as the entrepreneur, to really experience that growth that you want, you have to be willing to say, what's the proposed solution that you're bringing to this problem? Will it work? Is it the way that I would have done it? No. Will it work? Yes. Then do it.
Right.
Because the vision matters more.
Right.
Right. One of the things that I do in this thing that we're going to be giving away here, I call it the 7-day quest to transform your hustle and grind into progress and profit. The very first thing that we want to do is get you a vision that you connect with. Because if you connect with that vision, you're going to be willing to sacrifice and sublimate your ego to achieving that vision. And it won't matter in the end if someone is doing something different than the way that you were doing it, because it gets done.
Yeah. I think oftentimes I want to get the results. I don't necessarily, I don't want to put my ego in the way, but it's like, okay, just getting to the point where I just get somebody in the position to be able to do it. And many times it's like, okay, what is it? I hire slow and fire. No, I hire fast and fire slow. And it probably isn't the way for me to go. It's like, hey, it seems like that person will fit the bill. Hire the person. And then it's like, okay, I'm just watching them slowly hang themselves. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that again. So I have learned some valuable lessons in there for sure. Yeah. All right. So what's the next step? Somebody says, all right, I recognize that I have a problem. I recognize I want to step a little bit closer to the solution. Where do they start? Do they start with understanding what their vision is? Is that really the key to it?
Yeah, it really is the key, because the vision is the underpinning of everything. There's a great quote from Alice in Wonderland, where Alice is at this crossroads and the Cheshire Cat appears and she says, which way do I go? And the Cheshire Cat says, well, where do you want to go? And Alice says, I don't really know. I don't really care, I guess. And the Cheshire Cat says, well, if you don't know where you want to go, then either path will do.
It's very true.
And it's the same thing here. Like, that vision is going to establish where you want to go. And everything else is going to come back to that. I had a really brilliant mentor who loved airplanes. And he talks about the parable of the VOR. In airplanes, they have something called very high omnidirectional radio. And it's the thing that makes autopilot possible. And basically what it is it's this radio frequency that is beamed out. And you have a device on your airplane that allows you to key in, and then you lock that in. And you just fly by autopilot straight at that VOR. Well, if you are flying and you're off by 1 degree and you're leaving San Francisco to fly to Washington, D.C., you'll be 50 miles north of Washington, D.C. by the time you're done. And that discrepancy, imagine if you were flying to, say, Jerusalem, and you were off by 1 degree. It becomes a lot wider. And it's the same thing here. If you don't know what your vision is, then you're going to be off, and you're going to either spend all of your time, all of your money, or all of your emotive energy and waste it and be completely out when the time comes to really push hard.
So I guess your vision being more and better is not a good vision. It needs to be a little bit more tangible than that.
Yeah, it absolutely has to be more tangible than that. It's got to be something that's like, this is something that motivates me. When I get up in the morning, I can eat, sleep, drink, breathe, feel this vision. I know exactly what it looks like what it feels like, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get there.
So tell me a little bit about some of the tools that you use with your clients that might be helpful for my clients or my community that are listening to this right now and trying to figure out. I like the words that he's saying. I just don't give me a little bit more feeling of how it actually works.
So I actually have a tool that I use that I've created. I call it the promised land exercise. And I created this with the help of a guy who's taken a business from literally $0 to $100 million business in a highly competitive vertical. And he was saying, this is how I did it. And this is how I developed my vision for it. And this is how I realign myself with that vision. I call it the promised land exercise because it's got to feel like a promised land where you're willing to sacrifice anything to get there, other than your ethics and your eternal soul.
Willing to share a little bit about how that actually works without getting too in the weeds or too detailed with it?
Yeah, absolutely. So it starts with you thinking about where you're at right now, because if you don't know where you're at, then you can't accurately assess where you want to go, and the path to get there. So we start with mapping out where you're at now. And then we look at the macro view, the 50,000 foot view. Where do you want to be in 10 years? What do you want for your business in 10 years? And then we basically incrementally grow from 1 year to 3 year to 5 year to 10 year and get more into the weeds on what that looks like. So by the time you're done, you have this map of this is where I want to go. And it becomes a matter of, okay, now how do I get there? And, that's where we can have a conversation. If anyone's interested, they can schedule an appointment and we can get this going. But that's where we have a conversation about like, okay, so that's where you want to be. Here's how you're going to map that out strategically. This is what you have to do. And really get into more of that nitty-gritty strategic planning.
So the first spot for you in our community would be to join Zac's 7-day quest to transform your hustle and grind into progress and profit. You can do that right on his website, and I'll make sure I put a link in the show notes. How to get to you. You just give me your email address and you're signing up for the quest. Give me just maybe a high level approach to what that quest looks like, so somebody that is interested can opt into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So high level, it's 7 days. And what it does is it takes you, and we look at the 5 factors that you're going to need to get momentum in your business. In physics, momentum is mass times velocity. In business, momentum is how many people do you have engaging in your business, employees and customers, and how fast are you moving in the right direction? And so we've got a day for vision, a day for operations, a day for sales, a day for customer service, a day for your culture, and then a day that brings it all together. And, we're taking a 50,000 foot view and seeing what are these things are. We're taking a 50,000 foot view and saying, of those 5 factors, which are you weakest in? And how do you focus on those to get to the next level?
Nice. And is that something done in a group environment? Is that done through an automated process? Is that done one-on-one? How do you engage?
So the way that we engage is that they sign up for the email. It's an automated email. They're going to get an email a day to be able to put this together. It takes 15 minutes of introspection. We know that you guys are busy, and we want to give you these quick wins that are going to be able to be implementable. And then if they find an area where they do need to dive deeper on, well, then we can schedule an hour-long appointment and we can have a conversation and see, how do we fix this? How do we fix where you're stuck? Or are you even really stuck?
That's very cool. Well, Nice Guy Community, again, I'll put a link in the show notes how to get be a part of the 7-day quest to transform your hustle and grind into progress and profit. And Zac, again, thank you so much for sharing your message with my community. I know this is going to hit home with a number of people in our community. Now is the time. Nice Guy Community, if you've never taken action on anything over the last 7 years and 1,300 episodes of listening to our show, today is the day that you should be doing it. It sounds like a really cool thing. I know I'm going to opt into this. I want to see what the 7 days looks like for my own set of what are the things that I am weakest at. I think I might know, but I'm not 100% sure. But I'm going to opt into it just to see what it does for me. Thanks for being here, Zac, and sharing your message.
Thanks, Doug. It was a pleasure.
Hey, Nice Guy community, never underestimate the power of nice. Again, special thanks to Zac Stucki. All of his information, including access to his 7-day quest, will be right there in the show notes. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, the only podcast I provide voice for and also actually listen to, I'm Steve O'Brien. Well, that's what I tell them, at least. Listen to the beginning and the end. All the stuff in the middle is just yak, 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 yak.